Alright you guys, here we go. I'm going to do a little wet sanding here on Olive's back end. Now, I'm using some 400 grit wet sandpaper, basic water. The whole premise of wet sanding is not to sand through the paint back to the metal. First off, the reason you're using water is you don't want the paint to heat up and peel off or bubble up or so forth and so on. Now, what I'm looking for is imperfections from dust particles, basically. Or if you do this in your backyard, you're going to see a gnat doing a backstroke across it or something like that. You want to get that all out on the first coat, because you can do smaller, lighter coats after the first coat, but you don't want to try and sand in between. I guess what I'm saying is you can sand all the way down to 1500 grit if you want to. It's not really necessary to do it, but what I'm doing with this coat is just two things. Number one, I'm going around and taking all of the little imperfections off, but at the same time, I'm inspecting it. So when I put a final coat over it, then all I have to do is away we go. Dust cloth and away we go. Now, I don't have to necessarily see, because I can feel. I can hear the sandpaper picking up, and I can feel the imperfections coming off. Now, I fold my sandpaper in half and I use it a couple of times, because the first time I go over, I'll go with the newest side, and then the next time I go over, I'll use the side that's more used, so it's even less coarse, if that makes any sense. And also, if you see any runs at this point, any place where the gun paused on you, for lack of a better term, any real bad imperfections, you can still fix them at this point. You have to go back through the paint, and you can use some body filler, or you can use whatever you feel comfortable using. You can use well, depending on what you did use. But I can see here, you may not be able to, but there's a nice big chunk right here. Now what I want to do is feather that in. I'm not going to go all the way through the paint. You can actually see, the blind man can see that. But that's what we're doing. We're not trying to do a crazy resand, start over situation. We're just trying to do some troubleshooting, see if there's anything that's going to cause us issue in between the next coat. Now, I paint in my garage, and the temperature drops at night, so if I know I'm going to paint, I'll leave my garage heat on for 24 hours so I can actually heat up the metal too. You don't want to just come out in the morning, turn on the heat, and start painting, because this metal is going to be cold. You want the metal to be pretty close to the ambient temperature in the garage. And just go over, now you can see on my paper where my fingers were, I got into some paint that was thicker than in other spots, and that's a pretty good indication. But use all your senses. Use your sight, use your ears. You'll be able to hear if it's a little bit rougher. If the paint's a little rougher, you can hear it. You can feel it, just the resistance. But do not, at any cost, start dry sanding at this point, because if you do, you're really opening yourself up a can of worms. And unless you're going fishing, there's no need to open up a can of worms. You can hear that. That's the difference. If you can hear the difference, you know that you've got some imperfection. So we'll continue working on that. We'll end our video with this. And all I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and take some paper towels, dry it off, and go to the next section. Hope this finds you well and warm. God bless you.